And the first thing I'd like to do is to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're all gathered on, all the lands that we're gathered on. In our case, it is the Gubbi Gubbi, Turrbal and Yagara people, the traditional custodians of the land out here in around Brisbane, southeast Queensland. So Yinjamara, Mudjaragun to all of those traditional custodians and their elders, past, present, and emerging. Welcome, everybody. This is a rather historic event, actually. It's not only the first time that the Maureen Freer literary competition has been announced as we started that this year, but the first time online as well. So welcome to everybody. With me, I have Emeritus Professor Gary Crew from USC Creative Industries, who was the judge of the short story category. And I might add, Gary was also the winner of the Warana Writers Convention short story competition when Maureen Freer was the Warana Writers Convention chairman.
A long time ago.
Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Can I just give you a brief rundown on Maureen Freer? Maureen was the recipient of the 1984 Order of Australia Medal. She was the president of the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland from 1970 to 1974. Was also president of the National Fellowship of... Now, John Bradley, could you just take your share screen off for a moment, please? Sorry. Maureen was also national president of the Fellowship of Australian Writers back when they had a national body. Chairman of the Queensland Writers Festival, as I said, which was the Writers Convention, the Warana Writers Convention, and chairman of Commonwealth Writers Week here in Brisbane in 1982. So could I just, there it is. Okay, there we are. Could I welcome you all? And there's especially, can I welcome people from not only around Australia here today, but we internationally as well. Sharon, welcome. It's, I think, midnight in New York.
It is. It's midnight and it's oddly warm here, and it's been freezing every night, but tonight it's in the 50s, so it's a very strange time to be awake, but it is midnight.
It is midnight, and thank you. And I think our times over here, it's just 2:05, so it's a little bit warmer.
The clocks will change next weekend, so I was really glad it was this weekend because I was having a great difficulty trying to figure out what time it would actually be next weekend once our clocks went back.
All right, so your daylight saving ends next week, does it?
Yes, and I'm like, oh, what will it be then? 11 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. So
yes, I'm sure here in Australia we have a similar issue. I'm sure those of you from New South Wales and Western Australia keep looking at their clocks in terms of here in Queensland, it might be 2 o'clock, but it's all over the place everywhere else because we're actually in our daylight saving at the moment. So it's certainly very different, but that's the way it goes. And welcome to all of you. Could I start simply by just asking, and I'll make a comment as convener of the articles section. The articles section was this year judged by Sally Eberhardt, who hopefully will be able to join us a little later. And we had a small collection of entries, but a quality one. The short story category was convened by Dr. Indrani Ganguly, and as I said, judged by Gary Crew, who has joined us today, and the poetry was convened by Virginia Miranda and judged by Rob Morris, our resident poet. So, Virginia, was there a comment you wanted to make about the, as the convener of the poetry in general, about the entries received?
I think the only thing is, which is like with all competitions, it's really important that people read the terms, the conditions, the rules, because there were a few that were disqualified because they were more than 40 lines. So, you know, we have to have rules and we need to follow those. So I think that's probably the main thing I would say, is that you have to read those rules, definitely. And abide by them. I mean, sometimes people think, oh, you know, an extra couple of lines won't matter, but we have to, you know, if everybody else is sticking to the 40 lines, then that's what we have to stay with. So. And
if I could just sort of reiterate that, and the reason I was a little hesitant there was I was looking for Dr. Indrani Ganguly, who hasn't been able to join us as yet. I thought she would also make the same comment with the short stories, where several people exceeded the length or actually put names on. So we've had to be quite strict on that, and the other criteria as well. So just a general sort of indication to people that when they enter these competitions, that the guidelines definitely have to be followed. I might, at this stage, just mention that any of you who wish to ask any questions but don't feel you would like to say anything or butt in, there is a chat section in the Zoom meetings that is over on the right-hand side, the chat section. And could I introduce Aoife Craddock, who will be monitoring the chat section? Aoife, could you just explain how you will do that, please?
Yeah, so hello everybody. If you just want to directly message me any questions you might have, then when there's a break, I can jump in and read out your questions for you. So just to save everything getting a little chaotic or any big interruptions, just send any questions my way and I'll hop in and ask them for you then.
Thank you, Aoife. Thank you. Could we go straight to the presentation, or the announcement at least, of the different prize winners? And as I announce each person, if they are present, I'd like to ask you to just make a small comment after I'm finished. We will start with the short story category, and the third place getter in the short story category was Lee Garahi with The Casual Monomaniac. Is Lee here? Yes, there's Lee. So if you have anything, if you can hear me, if you have anything you'd like to say to that. I'm not sure that you can hear me, Gary. Gary, did you have a comment about The Casual Monomaniac? A very interesting story.
Very briefly, I've been instructed by my leader. I think many of us will understand it's very difficult to write a comedy about a divorce or a marriage separation. And in this case, the story succeeded beautifully, where the couple are sexually compatible to a very high degree and in very unlikely places as a result of their divorce. And the story actually entertained me immensely and really did make me laugh. It's very difficult to do those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lee. I think you're
Can you hear me now?
Lee, did you want to make a comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Lee.
Yes.
Oh,
We can't see you, but we can hear
Oh
you.
no. Okay, so let's see. You may not want to see me actually.
Oh, we do. I do.
I can't. I don't know how to do that. So
Okay.
anyway, whatever. So yeah, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun with that, actually, that story. And,
Obviously.
and it's it was a good challenge. My biggest challenge is to keep in the criteria, because I do tend to waffle on a bit. And there were so many different scenarios that I could have put that couple into. And in fact, I did put a couple more scenarios in and took them out because I needed to meet the criteria. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm so happy that you enjoyed it, because, you know, a good laugh is just so important at this point in our lives. And yeah, I'm just absolutely thrilled. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, and congratulations on your third prize, your certificate, and I think the cheque will be posted to you by our Secretary, Virginia, through the week. Second...
Okay. Now that's me. Bye.
Oh, hello. Well done, you. Excellent.
So not only can I write a funny story occasionally, I can work out technology as well and get my you know, my face up there. But I might take it off again now. So, but thank you anyway. Thanks.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Second place in the short story category goes to Chris Scriven for his story, The Sentence. Congratulations, Chris. Was there something that you wanted to say?
Oh, no, look, just thanks very much. It's a big thrill, and I think it's a terrific thing to name a short story prize after somebody who's done so much. It's something I won't forget. Thanks very much.
Well done, Chris. Well done. Gary, did you want to make a comment about Chris's story, The Sentence?
I think there were two particular things for me, Chris. One is evident by what's on the wall behind you. It was the literary worth, the allusions to famous quotations from stories, which sounded extremely posh and intelligent and on the money in a literary sense. The second thing, to me, having been all around the world going blah, blah, blah about books, it was the negotiation with the cab driver, which is very often a very difficult thing to do. And I think you carried that off beautifully by the poor bedazzled driver thinking, what the hell is happening in the seat behind me, while you continued, or your character continued, his or her psychobabble, about which the cab driver would have had no understanding whatsoever. It was a beautiful story. Thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations, Chris. Congratulations, Chris. That's well done. And in the absence of a drum roll, I'll imagine one. The winner of the Maureen Freer Literary Competition for 2020 short story category happens to be a person by the name of Nadia King. Congratulations, Nadia. Nadia is also, I might add, the 2019 winner of the Stuart Haddo Short Story Prize, which is the Fellowship of Australian Writers, Western Australia short story competition, I understand. Congratulations, Nadia.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there a comment you'd like to make, Nadia, before Gary says something about you? Or would you like to hear what Gary says first?
Yeah, maybe what Gary says first.
Oh, Gary, would you like to comment about this story, please?
He plays tricks. Nadia, it's lovely to see you, to have a visual image of you. In my judge's report, which is very fulsome, it does say I made lists, piles of stories, which I thought would make it more likely than others, or not so. From the get-go, your story positively glowed. You positively said, pick me, and each time I would go back to that as the yardstick by which I would measure all others. The potency, the power was astonishing. I'll sum up by saying your central character was the most perverse, nasty, awful, misogynistic, racist. I can't think of enough negatives to say, but somehow, without the intervention of a priest, you got this turkey to own up that he was all of the above. That was absolutely a work of art. Well done, you. Thank you.
congratulations, Nadia. And is there something that you would like to say, Nadia?
That story was, I don't know, I feel really close to that story. I wrote it quite a long time ago, and I can't tell my brother-in-law, but it was kind of based on something that happened
Don't
to
tell him,
him.
please. He's too awful.
He's actually quite a nice man, so I worried about this story. I thought it would never get anywhere because I felt like I was so political, and I really felt like I had a go at everyone in it. So I was.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, he did. He did.
He did. Yeah. So
but he did have a Rolex, which makes it all okay.
He had bloody everything.
Look, I can't speak very long. It's not appropriate. But even the sub-characters, his unfortunate wife, his unfortunate son, the unfortunate cab driver, even down to the specificity of the car that was being driven. It was just beautifully done. Truly well done, Nadia. Magnificent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well done, Nadia. And I think at the end of the story, there was a real chance of redemption, hope, something, a journey forward. And that's what I liked about the story as well, for what it's worth in terms of my comments. So congratulations, very well done. It will give us great pleasure to publish those 3 stories in our Scope magazine, which will be in the Christmas edition as well. And of course, your certificate and check, as it will for Chris Scriven and for the other person who's for Lee, sorry, will be posted out to you soon. Could I, at this stage, ask Aoife, is there any questions from anyone about any of those short stories?
No, but Verity would like to wish her congratulations to everybody who won.
Verity, please. Verity Croker, could you just, if you wouldn't mind, just introducing yourself and a little of your background, please.
Oh yes, hi, I'm Verity Croker. I write generally young adult books is what I'm focusing on at the moment, but I've also written for children and adults as well. But yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing all these stories in Scope. They sound really fascinating. And the poetry, I'm looking forward to hearing about that as well. But yeah, they all sound really, really interesting stories. So congratulations, everybody. Well done.
Thank you, Verity. Verity, I might add, is also on the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland Festival Committee as one of the people organising our festival for 2021, which I'll briefly mention later. A shameless little sort of promotional statement there. Could we move on to the poetry category? And Rob Morris has joined us as the judge of the poetry. Can I start with, there were so many entries that Rob found of such quality that he had to give what he calls a commended prize to 5 different authors. And if I'll just read out who those 5 authors are, they are David Terrelink from Bigger Waters, Mocko Wallet from Brisbane, Sarah Rice from Canberra in the ACT, Wendy Beach from Dianella, I think it's pronounced, in Western Australia. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Nicole Melanson, also from Brisbane. Rob, can you hear us, and can you make a comment about any of those commended poems, if you can at all? Rob has joined us, but I'm not sure that he has unmuted. No, okay. Moving on to the 3rd prize getter in the poetry, and it gives me great pleasure to say that 3rd prize goes to Carla de Goad with her poem Hospital, Maggots and His Face. Carla, can you hear us? Would you like to say something there? No, she's there, but not able to say anything.
Oh, she's unmuted.
Right, Carla, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you, everybody, and I'm really, really appreciated. These things help writers to keep going. So, yeah, thank you.
Well done, Carla, well done. The second place getter in the poetry section is a poem by the name of Theorem. Congratulations, Sharon Collins. Sharon.
Hi. I have to say I am amazed and quite honored that this little poem got so much attention and actually took a prize. It's an ekphrastic poem, and not a lot of people write them. And this poem, Theorem, was in response to a Winslow Homer painting. I don't think I'll ever forget seeing the painting the first time. This young lady back in probably colonial American times standing at a blackboard full of geometry figures. And she has this look on her face of, even if I master this, no one's ever really going to understand that it's of value because I'm a girl, you know? So thank you very much for recognizing it. I'm really honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And also, I might add, Sharon, our international prize winner. So congratulations. It's very well done.
It's really exciting.
It is, as you said, a delightful poem and only short. So if the prize winner is not here, or Rob does not want to, or is not able to make a comment, I might just very quickly read it for everybody's benefit, but we'll see how it goes. The winner of the poetry category for the Maureen Freer Literary Competition for 2020 is Olivia Guillen from Petersham in New South Wales with a poem called Dissension. So congratulations, Olivia. I'm not sure if Olivia is not here. I don't think. I'm trying to see. There we are. There's a new person just joining, but it's not Olivia. So, Rob, okay, so Aoife, would you like to just tell us what Rob has just said?
Yes, so Rob has just said hello, and he's here and listening, but there's a storm interfering with his Wi-Fi, so his microphone is not working. But he's very happy to be here, and yes. And Verity asked if Sharon could explain the term nephrastic, because she hadn't heard it. I haven't heard it either. And I would love to, if you could tell me the name of the artwork that inspired you again. I'd love to jot that down to have a look at it later.
Ekphrastic poetry has been around a while. One of the most famous ones that I can remember was there's a painting by Bruegel. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, and it's called The Kermesse. And there's a poem that when I used to teach English, well, I was an English teacher, and I had a creative writing class, and I used ekphrastic poetry with my students, and we would go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We would spend time in the Impressionist room, especially because I could get art cards there, and the kids would pick out their favorites. And then I would go to the museum shop and buy quality art cards of their favorites. And then we would go back to class and we would spend a lot of time immersed in the artwork. And then from the artwork, we would draw a poem. And so that's what ekphrastic poetry does. It's poetry inspired by works of art. And I don't know if I can show it. Let's see, I have a picture of, this is the actual Winslow Homer painting. Can you see the girl? Mm-hmm. And she stands there in front of the blackboard, and the blackboard has geometrical figures all over it. And her face is such that, you know, I've mastered this, but, you know, my value as a girl standing at the blackboard with mathematics will never be appreciated. Wow. That's how I felt about her when I was writing the poem. And so it's Winslow Homer, and I think it's called Blackboard or Chalkboard. I'm not exactly sure, but if you look up a Winslow Homer, you'd find it. So
thank you.
for years and years and years, my students did, we did that every year. And the fun part was I had seniors at the end, so 17-year-olds. And we would finish this project up right before Christmas. And I had an art teacher friend who would cut these most beautiful mats. And we would, the kids would desktop publish and they would get a copy. They had the art card from the museum and he would frame that. And then he would cut the mat so that their poems would show. And for years and years and years and years, it was the big Christmas present that these kids would give to their moms and dads. And the year I retired, I had this one parent say, oh, no, you can't retire because all of my kids have done this except the last one. You have to stay so that we can have that, we can have that poem. Unfortunately, I still retired. But it was always wonderful. So
thank you,
yeah,
Sharon.
so that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Yes, and the title of that painting that you have in your entry is Blackboard. It's Blackboard by
right.
Winslow Homer.
Winslow Homer.
So thank you very much for that. And that will, as I said, will be published and and I don't think Olivia Guillen is here, and Rob has not written any other comment, Aoife, that he needs to make on the poetry. So congratulations to those poetry winners and to all of those people in that. I'll move on if we have time, and if the people present would like me to, I might ask Sharon to read it, or I can read it for her a little bit later, but it's only short. But anyway, we'll move on to the article category. And in the article category, Sally Eberhardt was the judge of the article category. Sally is the author of several books on networking and is also a part-time journalist as well. And the third place getter in the literary competition for 2020 in article category was Jane Hall with Contagion. Congratulations, Jane, for that. Jane is from Nedlands in Western Australia. So congratulations, Jane. Jane isn't here, I don't think. No. Second place was Kylie Mulcahy from Tasmania with an article titled Running Out of Spirit. Congratulations, Kylie. Would you like to say words?
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, thanks so much for reading and the opportunity. I'm still trying to figure out the essay a bit, I think. So, but it was really enjoyable to write. So, yeah, that's great. Thanks, much appreciated.
Thank you, Kylie. And I'm glad you used the term essay, because a lot of people these days feel that the essay form is, very passé. They're not looking at it, and that's what we were attempting to sort of encourage people moving towards with the article category, as to more of the essay form. Did you? I know this is putting you on the spot, but did you have a comment at all about the essay form as a piece of writing? I know growing up, I had great pleasure in reading all the different essays by different people, a lot of the historic writers. It's one of the things that excited me about writing. Have you had that opportunity at all?
Well, there are some that are just so thoroughly entertaining, aren't they? When people just give you a little bit of a window into something. And of course, there's so many different types of essays. So I suppose that's what I'm still getting my head around, is what's the purpose in this scenario. But I really enjoy the ones that are quite funny, I suppose, that bring that into, maybe the topic isn't funny, but that you can get a sense of the author's take on it. It's just been something that I really like to read and therefore like to try and write. But I'm a bit new to it, I think, so we'll see how we go. Yeah.
Well done, Kylie. Thank you. And again, in the absence of a drum roll, we announced the winner of the Maureen Freer Literary Competition article category for 2020 is Virginia Miranda with Connecting Community in 2020. Congratulations, Virginia.
Thank you. Yes, very, very exciting. I normally write fiction, so this was quite a challenge, but I guess with everything that's been happening in the last 12 months, it was a good exercise. I enjoyed writing it, enjoyed doing the research. Having friends around the world, I was able to sort of ask a lot of them how they had handled and what they were doing, and so I guess that sort of helped in the writing of the story as well.
If I could just comment to both Virginia and Kylie, the article section, the theme was connecting community, and in Virginia's prize-winning story, it was an exploration of the way in which our pandemic situation internationally has really challenged both the words connection and disconnection, how in a sense it's done almost both. And when you read the story in the Scope magazine, which I hope all of you will be able to, the concluding sentence in Virginia's article is just captures so much of, similar to what other writing it does, it leads you into some hope for the future. And that's one of the forms that I was going to comment when Kylie was talking about. The essay comes from the word essayist, which is almost like a writer thinking on the page. And so that's, you know, all of our writing, our poetry category, our short story category, and our essay category are all intended to encourage that style of thinking forward, that style of challenging the writer and the reader to think, what is it in this world that we want? So congratulations to all the winners of all the categories. Was there a comment either from Gary or from any other participant in our announcement meeting here today that anyone would like to make in general?
Well, I have one from Sarah Rice, who was just wondering, she submitted a few different poems, so she was wondering if it was possible to find out which one was commended.
Oh, it's called I'd Gone to the Dark Side.
Oh.
Thank you, Virginia. I was
all right, I just had the list.
I was just trying to find it on the sheet of paper in front of me. Well done.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly, Gary, please.
Looking at photographs of yourselves, John Bradley, did I know you in another lifetime?
John, you're
Can't
muted.
hear you.
John.
Yeah. That's it. Now we can hear you, John.
I think we grew up together, Gary. I think, yeah.
So very, very quickly, where was that and when was that and how was that?
I don't know. I think we probably started knowing each other as far back as 1973. I taught at Toowong. I was involved with the Border Poets mob, and then you were at God, where were you? 74.
I was at Teachers Training School.
Yeah, I think so. And then I moved across to from Toowong to Wavell, from Wavell to Kendra.
Yeah, okay, that would be the connection.
Yeah,
because I lived there. Okay, thank you.
And we used to have you. I used to have you in to talk to the kids. You know,
that makes sense. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. A long time ago.
Isn't it wonderful?
But we're still here.
talk about making connections.
Wonderful. Makes me very happy.
Yeah,
you've made my day. Yeah. Thank you.
You don't live far away from me, up on the hill up there called Mullaney, I think. You're still around there?
No. I'm now on Bribie.
Oh, okay. You're in the sand. Yeah, okay.
Yes, well, not quite. You will never see me in Speedos.
I am. Yeah, off you go.
Good to see you, John. Thank you.
Well done. We're making connections here as well. So that's great. Social connections as well. The questions, Aoife, are there any other
No, I don't think so. No, we're good.
Is there anybody who would like to ask about anything about the competition itself, or make a comment, or about the activities of the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland before I say a few things about what we have planned for the future?
Can I ask a question?
John,
Jim, in each category, approximately how many entries did we score, and what was the variety around around Australia and other parts of the, in terms of?
I don't have the specific figures in front of me. I know that the article category, there were, I think, around a dozen entries. I
can answer that for the
short story.
There were 59 qualified entries.
Right.
There were 5 that were disqualified.
Right.
There were 3 disqualified because of incorrect word length.
Yeah.
And there were 2 disqualified because the entries had to include the title, and he seems such a she seems such a reasonable person within the text.
Right.
And 2 people did not do that. So 5 people were eliminated, but 59 or 49, I can't remember exactly, made it through.
Right, that's a
I've
fair
given
bit
a
of
full
reading.
report, which will be published. So that report covers the big picture of the holistic approach to the stories, and then a full report on each one, first, second, and third.
Good, good. That's great. Yeah, good show.
And all of that will be published.
And I'll add to that very quickly. Given the times we live in with COVID, I would say that out of that number, 50, 60, whatever, there were probably about 12 stories that did address issues related to the pandemic. But I'll also add, not one of those was a violin playing melancholy, let's all jump off the story bridge and commit suicide. Every one of them tried to find a positive future.
And that's to be congratulated, I think, of the way people are approaching to the whole situation. So, thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you. Virginia, did you have a comment to make?
I was just trying to look. I'm sure we had about 80 poems.
From memory, I think that's what Rob did mention. I'm not sure if Rob can hear me, if he can write it in the chat file, if he does remember how many he had. So
that's well received, Will. Yeah.
And from all over Australia.
Very great. Yeah.
So yeah, we get a lot of people in Western Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales. I don't think there was any Northern Territory people this time around, but yes, certainly we get a good coverage.
Good.
If I could just add to that, that in the past, the literary competitions for the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland have been running for a number of years. This isn't the first time we've run literary competitions. It is the first time we have named the competition in honour of one of our significant past members and a contributor to a great deal of literature and writing in Australia in general. But we have had literary competitions in the past, and from memory, and I think Virginia, you can back me up if I'm incorrect here, but we've had submissions substantially from not only around Australia, every state and territory, but internationally as well, not just 1 or 2 either. It's been several in the past. Is that accurate?
Yes, we have got a member in England and one up in Thailand. I know one year we had a story come in from Egypt. So I don't know how that person actually found. I should have asked her how she heard about the competition, but yeah, so we try to get it out there as much as we can.
And to us, it's about encouraging that writing, and that's one of the aims of the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland, to encourage the writer, to encourage the reader, to foster the creative skills. as well as to bring writers and aspiring writers together, which is what we attempt to do with these sorts of meetings. And hopefully in the future we can actually have physical meetings. But of course that would not allow our people from other states and countries to join us as they have today. So I want to really, really thank and pass our gratitude on to those people from overseas and other states who have joined us here today. And if I could just make a comment about the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland, I mentioned a festival that we're holding next year. Next year, 2021, happens to be the centenary year of the establishment of what was firstly called the Queensland Authors and Artists Association. It was established in 1921. One of the people involved in that was a gentleman by the name, or his pen name was, Steele Rudd, Arthur Hoey Davis. Many of you may have heard of Steele Rudd. Steele Rudd, 7 years later in Sydney, joined with John Le Burton and Dame Mary Gilmore to form the Fellowship of Australian Writers, which was a national body. The Fellowship of Australian Writers in Queensland, the Queensland Authors and Artists Association, I should say, changed their name to the FAWQ in 1958. They were the first branch of the FAW as soon as the FAW was formed.
Ooh, did anyone else get that?
Was lightning, if you heard, just outside my window.
Yeah.
So if everything goes black, you'll know.
As long as you don't go black and the picture stays the way it is.
Wow.
So, having just said that the Fellowship of Australian Writers Queensland is 100 years old, I just had an announcement from the sky to reinforce it.
The ghost of the founders.
Indeed, yes. Leave us alone. That was Steele Rudd.
That'd be right.
He was always a vocal lad, wasn't he? Yes, my train of thought is that the Fellowship of Australian Writers used to be a national body. Now each state has its own. They are active in Western Australia, as I think, Nadia, you would know. Very active in Western Australia, active also in Victoria and New South Wales. The other states and territories, I think, have moved into other organisations, and we are thrilled to be holding, as part of our centenary celebrations next year, a festival which will be held here in the local region around Brisbane called Moreton Bay. It will be called the FAWQ Readers and Writers Festival Moreton Bay, and it will be held in June and July next year. So our website has all the details, and we've been working quite a while so far on developing the program and developing links with authors and everybody. So if you'd like to look at our website, which is fawq.com.au, you'll get the link to the festival website and more details. So Russell, as our web manager, would you like to add anything to the planning that we're moving towards with the festival next year in terms of how people can get information? So,
yeah, well, you pretty much covered it, Jim. There's two websites, as you say. The FAWQ can funnel you off to the festival website. The festival website, while the website's complete, the calendar and all aspects of the festival are still a work in progress. There's a full calendar on there that'll fill in as we confirm our events, which getting close now, Jim. The girls and Verity have got very close with the whole thing. A lot of work, as you say, and but a lot of fun, a lot of good connection. And since we started this journey, the FAWQ has grown somewhat. I think Virginia can attest to what was there before and what we're doing now. Yeah, I think it's going to be an enormous thing. I think all of the people from Western Australia, Nadia, should jump on a bus, come over. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to be very proud of it, because we're proud already to see what's developing. Very good.
And it's all part of that whole sort of idea that we need to support the emerging writer and the creative aspect of our approach to what we value and what we have in society. And the reason I mentioned the festival primarily is because it is at that festival next year that we will be announcing the winner of the 2021 categories in the Maureen Freer literary competition, the details of which will be sent out, of course, by email and on our website. The FAWQ will also have another competition in memoir that we are currently planning for next year, which will also be finalised at the festival in the first weekend in July. So look for those details if you're interested in writing memoirs at all.
We have a couple of comments. So Wendy wasn't here when we were reading out the poetry commendations, so just congratulations to Wendy. And she just wanted to know which poem it was. Was it her poem Sunflowers that was commended?
The commended for Wendy Beach was Sunflowers, yes.
Yeah, there you go. And Rob has had to disconnect you to the storm, said thank you. And Lee said she might have to disconnect too because the storm is starting to hit, but thanked everybody. So
yes, and in fact the storm's getting very close here as well. So
yeah,
I'm going to wind up now. If there's any question or comment from any person participating at the moment.
Congratulations to everybody. That was a great thing. Thank you very much, Gary. And who else did we have? Tom?
Can I, Russell, can I just say, can I list who has been here? And I would like to thank, can I thank firstly the judges of each category, Emeritus Professor Gary Crew, who is here with us today, Rob Morris from our poetry, and Sally Eberhardt. Can I secondly congratulate each of the category winners, first, second and third, and the commended people, extra 5 in the poetry. Congratulations to all of you. All of that material will be published in our Scope magazine. And can I thank each and every one of you, especially those of you who have had to endure storm conditions, and I can look out the window in front of me here and it's about to hit. So
yeah, Jim and I live 2 minutes away. We're looking at the same cloud.
And can I thank especially those who have come and made a special effort to get up at midnight. Sharon, thank you very much. I know what it's like. And to people who have come from far and wide, Nadia and Kylie and Chris and Nicole, and to everybody who has joined us today, thank you very much. And keep well.